Before we get started, this is a very controversial topic.
Oh, goody! Controversial is my middle name. No, my other middle name. No, my other middle name. Okay, fine, it's one of my many middle names. But it's in there somewhere. Shut up, random floating white text, you argumentative goit. I'm just happy is all, because whenever a dumbass says controversial on my channel, what they actually mean is absolutely freaking ridiculous. Bring it.
Something ingrained in people for decades.
So, it's not something super old, but it is something that we have known about for at least a few decades. Christ, that could be anything. Perhaps it's smoking menthols, being healthier than smoking an apple, or try yummy thalidomide, it'll get rid of your anxiety, morning sickness, and any pesky baby limbs. Or perhaps keep your house toasty warm with asbestos. I'm sure you'll be fine for a while.
Oh, lead paint is horrible. Lead paint is the devil.
Ah, you can tell someone is a good source of factual information when they flap their arms about and put a voice on. And yes, I know that is often how I talk about people's stupid ideas, but the thing is, I'm not trying to sell you on something stupid, and I'm not to be taken seriously. This guy, on the other hand, well, I'm sure he thinks he's stumbled on one of them truth TMs. But no, obviously not.
Keep it away from your children.
What the f*** was that? And yeah, don't give your children lead paint, not because of the danger, but because a child alone in my house with a bucket of pretty much any kind of paint is literally my worst goddamn nightmare. Seriously, that's the kind of shit that has me waking up in a cold sweat, then having to check the house to make sure the carpet isn't a brand new sticky wet shade of ultramaroon.
Yet those same people will keep their cell phone next to their baby all day.
I don't know, man. As long as you aren't drilling into your phone and releasing all the sparkly dust into the air and then using a leaf blower to send it to your baby, they'll be fine. Because as I'm sure your point is, mobile phones emit non-ionizing radiation that after unbelievable amounts of research has yet to show any positive correlation with cancers and such, and are also extremely useful devices capable of effectively running someone's entire life and livelihood if used properly for the right things. And then there's lead paint, on the other hand, which has been shown to be very dangerous, mostly when people start doing shit like redecorating, which they do all the time, with no benefit to the consumer over other non-massive problem-causing paint types. So yeah, extremely useful, non-harmful thing is better than pointlessly harmful thing. Go figure.
Doesn't make any sense.
If you're a moron who refuses to do or understand the 5 seconds of research it takes to understand why this whole video was a huge goddamn mistake, then I am sure, no matter how much people point out the whys as to the bad idea of it, you will never freaking listen and are somehow more correct because people disagreed with you. Yes, I have been doing this for far too long now. Why do you ask?
I'm 100% convinced myself.
See? 100% convinced. There is literally no way he could possibly be wrong. You know how smart people always know they're right about everything, so never bother to find out if they're wrong and how. That's what makes them so smart, not their ability to self-reflect and correct. No. That's what dumbs who aren't deluded into believing they are actually have the smart brains. The idiots.
The main reason lead paint was banned is because it blocks radiation.
What? No, it doesn't. No, seriously. For one, when lead paint was banned in, say, the US at the very least, wireless, basically anything like that, was not something seriously being pushed to consumers by anyone. And if you know anything about governments and bureaucracy, there would have to actually be significant demand and outcry from people for them to ever start doing anything about it. Also, frankly, the amount of lead in the lead paint you smear on a wall is so tiny, it would likely have a negligible effect on your signals, but it still has a big effect on people because, you know, dose makes the poison. And especially when compared to things like the thickness of your walls, those are going to have a way bigger impact on it. And if it was that big a deal, they still wouldn't ban it. They would just say, hey, if you want better 5G, buy our 5G friendly paint. Because basically no one from 1978 to about 2005 would have ever needed wireless freaking anything to live.
That radiation from your cell phone, router, nearby towers, smart meters, all of your neighborhood's devices.
is so unhealthy that no one has been able to establish a connection between them and various claimed diseases. Because frankly, you get bombarded with more actually potentially harmful radiation from the sun literally every minute of every day, and no one's talking about banning that thing. I mean, they should. It fucking sucks and wakes me up in the morning when I've only had 17 hours of beauty sleep. Being this handsome requires work, and by work I mean no work because I'm asleep.
Since lead paint was still being used in the 70s and 80s, before these high radiation devices were invented.
Oh, get off with your air quotes. I mean, yeah, the technologies for a lot of things are kinda old, but that's not the same thing as them being publicly available, and most certainly not the same thing as them being ubiquitous. They weren't common back then. Mostly, just because a thing is invented doesn't mean anyone can actually make them yet at any kind of scale. So there would have been no reason to pre-ban paint, unless there was a shitload of people getting seriously ill from the application and subsequent dustification of lead paints, among other means. Oh right, that's because it was, and we had known about it even earlier. And the simple dangers of lead itself had been known since the goddamn Romans. Lead is bad for humans. Simple as.
The lead paint was the only thing protecting us.
Protecting us from what exactly? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but the low frequency EMF has done sweet to the FA to people. Now you may say, but my cousin lives near X thing and they got super cancer. Okay, so what? John Fringleblong lives in a field on his own and only eats raw carrots and got the same exact thing. It's almost like those two people were just kind of sort of gonna get it. And it has nothing to do with what you decided was the cause based on your years and years and years of confirmation bias.
It's far too much of a coincidence that they banned lead paint right before all of this new technology comes out.
It's actually, again, the literal opposite of a coincidence. I mean, seriously, think of anything that was put into policy to preempt something. I can't think of a single goddamn thing. It's always after the fact, after people start complaining, after it has an effect. You know why? Because that shit is expensive to do, and there are people who will fight you on it. Doing nothing is usually the politically savvy move, if no one in the public cares, or just doesn't care enough. Now, is this always the case? I don't know. I'm sure some smartass has an example or two of something that was fixed before the other thing came to be, but that doesn't change the fact that it's usually the other way round, does it? And half the time, they don't even bother fixing it.
Keep in mind though, one coat of lead paint was probably not enough. It would have to be an older building where there were multiple 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, who knows, 10 layers of lead paint.
Well, way to prove me point, mate. And the funny thing is, the thickness and construction of your walls is going to have a much bigger impact than any amount of lead paint, since the amount of lead contained in the paint is not going to affect anything but the weakest and subsequently least dangerous forms of radiation, rendering the whole concept, well, wrong and dumb. And I can only assume that you think lead paint is so great because of how tasty it is.
Which is why they demonized those old buildings. Were they the only safe ones to still live in?
Okay. So what the hell is the benefit of making it unsafe for everyone to live in the world? Like seriously, even rich people don't use lead paint. You know, because they don't want to accidentally f*** up their kids. They pay boarding schools to do that on purpose. So no one is being protected by your frankly moronic ideas. If anything, they need protecting from them.
So lead paint was banned in 1978 for use in child-occupied facilities, which includes residential homes, schools, churches, daycares, etc.
Yes, because lead is bad for children. It can affect their learning development, among other things. That's bad. We don't want that, so we banned it. Yay! Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to prevent just plain idiotitis, where people will have no ability to understand why certain things are the way they are, so there must be some conspiracy, and they want to change it back, because they am the big smart.
One indisputable argument is the amount of lives lost to disease caused by radiation.
The radiation we are specifically talking about, and I'm going to say, okay then, what's your citation on that, buddy? Because I'm betting it's not a study or any form of scientific inquiry. It's likely, here's a bunch of people who got some diseases and decided it was because whatever. And that's not how that works. Just because you think you caught gonorrhea from your phone doesn't mean it wasn't actually from licking the underside of toilet seats.
Every modern disease has environmental radiation as a catalyst, as it greatly increases oxidative stress and reduces organ function.
Holy shit. Did he just say that everything is caused by cell phone radiation? Oh my god. This is like reverse healing woo. This is everything is caused by this one weird trick. Are you fucking kidding me? No, that's not how anything works. You can't just say everything is caused by this one thing I don't like, because nothing causes everything. Just like how there's no one health or lifestyle hack that can prevent or cure everything. Because that's stupid black and white bullshit that only an absolute moron would think is the case. So, you.
If all of our houses were covered in enough lead paint to block radiation,
then all children would grow up to be as smart as you. And you know what? I don't even think he needs paint chips to have this level of intellect. I think he's just born different. Born, well, stupid, with absolutely zero capacity for critical thought. Seriously, how do people like this even manage to get out of bed without strangling themselves in their bed sheets?
hundreds of thousands to millions of people would not have suffered from radiation-induced diseases.
And by radiation-induced diseases, I mean literally everything, because I decided it does everything, and I don't need any of that pesky evidence backing me up. I just decided that's what it does. I mean, what has science really done for me lately? It certainly didn't prevent me from being a total moron, so really, what good is it?
Including cancer, diabetes, heart disease. Your individual health will dictate your tolerance to radiation.
There are so many things that cause cancer that I'm not even going to try to list them, and heart disease and type 2 diabetes are generally connected to diet and exercise. Nothing to do with fucking mobile phones. I mean, people had these things way before smartphones were everywhere, way before human-produced radiation was even a thing. So how did they get it? Oh right, is this where your invented in the 80s thing comes into play? They actually had cell phones back in Jesus' time. They were just fucking massive and had to be lugged about on a beast of burden. Why do you think he rode into town on 2 donkeys? One for him and one for his portable fucking fax machine.
How much toxins are already in your body, things as simple as were you bottle fed or breastfed.
Okay. Don't know which way he feels about that, but really, whichever way you can get calories into your baby is probably the best way. Because they need energy for development. What's the betting he was bottle fed with straight vodka? And while I do approve, he clearly didn't have the iron constitution, unlike baby me and my all whiskey diet. Also, it just occurred to me that maybe he means literally mama's milk, but for some reason, it makes a difference if it comes out of a bottle versus breast when, well, I guess that wouldn't surprise me coming from you.
This is the biggest secret, no matter whose YouTube channel you watch, whatever social media influencer.
My God, what am I keeping secret? Is it all the bodies? Because I've been pretty open about what I do with those. Maybe it's how much money I make, which is never enough. There's still whiskey out there that I don't own, for Christ's sake, which is tragic. Perhaps it's simply that we will never tell you about that thing on your face, because it's just embarrassing. I mean, what the hell even is that? What do you mean nose? Well, I haven't got one of those weird things, so it must be all of you that are the freaks.
They will never talk to you about EMF radiation or energy because it is what keeps them ahead of the masses.
Wait, what? I mean, I am doing it right now by proxy, and you are a YouTuber/influencer, and you think that all social media types are all part of some conspiracy to, I have no idea what, but what exactly do you think happened? I mean, I'm at nearly 100k subscribers on the old YouTubes, and no big boys, who aren't trying to scam me/you lot, pay me any attention whatsoever. I certainly haven't received a letter outlining how I need to start lead lining my house and to throw away my phone. And on that point, how many influencers literally live and die by their phones? Tens of millions of followers, some of these people. And the Alubi Booby YouTube friend club didn't bother to tell them about the scary boys. When you start to think about it, it kind of sounds like ludicrous bullshit.
The masses are too naive to even think about how their cell phone works and if that energy can be used and manipulated in different ways.
Hey you lot, you are all frickin' idiots, because you can easily find out how phones work and can easily learn how electromagnetic radiation works instead of just making up reasons to be afeard of it, you morons. And I don't even want to know what the hell kind of fever dream he's yammering on about with the manipulation of it, because Christ, if everything so far has been stupid, that is definitely more of it.
Let's jump into some logical inconsistencies.
Isn't that what we have been doing this entire video? Everything you said is one form of logical inconsistency or another. You know, it's almost impressive how little logic or consistency you have used while still stringing words together.
Leaded gasoline wasn't banned until 1996. If lead is so dangerous, why did they wait 20 years before saying that inhaling lead fumes at the gas station or while driving is bad for you?
Oh, goddamn, you are one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the face of the planet, aren't you? One, again, it takes them forever to get anything done. But you know what makes them take even longer? When people fight them on it. And you know what people don't want to do? Get rid of their car that requires a certain type of fuel to run. At least they didn't back then. So they could get to work. Having leaded paint removed from your house or just not using that shit, not really much of a problem. Quite an easy fix. Hurts mostly the paint producers. And frankly, if they have any savvy, they should have dealt with it before the legislation came into play. But people's cars, yeah, they're gonna take a hit on the intellect if that means they're gonna get to keep their expensive go-to-work machine moving. And if anyone tries to stop them, they'll lose their goddamn shit. And Christ, don't get me started on the fucking oil companies and their bullshit. It's the simplest, most obvious reasoning. And I'm sure there is more, but the fact that you can't even fathom this crap really does show you are not a person anyone should be listening to.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was gonna tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the